Coming up, right. Hello.
Good morning, Stephen.
Right, we're live on Facebook now. Right. Right. Let's just let me get it up on my phone. Right.
Awesome.
I do love it when I get the better of technical hitches. Right. Right, brilliant. We're now live on Facebook. All right. I haven't had a nervous breakdown and we're all here. Right. Good morning. Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Time with myself, Stephen Rowlands, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Chris Rall with us. Chris has done Coffee Time with me before. Once when a guest wouldn't appear or had trouble getting on, Chris decided to volunteer his services, and we had a great chat about the 7 principles of spiritualism, didn't we, Chris?
Yeah.
Right, we'll have another go at that another time. But what I want to say is, folks, is that Chris is an energy reader and a soul reader. Have I got that right, Chris?
Yes, you are, Stephen.
Right, thank you. Right, the coffee's working. Right. Right, now down to the nitty-gritties, Chris. Please can you tell us about your journey into energy reading and soul reading and your development of the two things and how it can help, you know, spiritual seekers, basically. Over to you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you for having me on your show this morning. So my story goes back to a very, very young age. At about age 3, 4, I started realizing that when I was looking at animals, plants, and also people, that I could see glows around them. Now, at that point in time, when you're that young, you think that everybody sees the same way that you do. So you don't make anything of it. It was only when I went to primary school and kindergarten and spoke to my other friends that I realized that they did not see the same way that I did. And then they started with their normal reaction. When they don't understand something, they'll react either in fear or they'll start judging it. And then they'll say, what you're seeing is not right. You shouldn't be able to see X, Y, Z. And it's definitely not something that comes from source. It's maybe the work of the devil and so forth and so forth. I think we've all heard it all before. Then as I matured, as I started going into my age of about, I would say, 8, 9 in primary school, I started realizing that sometimes when I touched objects, I could pick up from them quite easily. So, for example, when I was in standard 4, I had the privilege of touching a deck of tarot cards. And as I did so, the cards just flashed through my mind. And afterwards, I said to the woman whose deck they were, I said to her, you won't believe what just happened, but I saw flashes of lights and images. And the woman said to me, that's quite strange. And she said to me, would you like to draw a card? And I said to her, yes. And I drew a card. And she said to me, now, what does that card mean? And me not even knowing the tarot at that point was able to give her an answer. And she looked at me, she said to me, that's very interesting because I think the cards have spoken to you. And didn't think anything of it. Later on, as my mum started developing health issues, I started seeing with her that she was having a lot of yellow in her energy field, but like a very funny, dirty, mustardy yellow. And only later on, when she was diagnosed then with cancer and passed away as a result of that at a very young age, did I realize that that might have been what I was seeing. And since then, as I grew up as an adult, I started realizing that when I see certain colors, they have different meanings to them. I also then, as I left high school at about age 23, came across a book that was titled Reading the Aura by Ted Andrews. And I found that Ted Andrews' book was like an answer for me because, first of all, he spoke about what the colors were that I was seeing. And he gave a very brief description for people to say that this is more or less what the colors would mean to him. And I want to emphasize that because, like with dream symbolism, when we see energy, when we read energy, I cannot tell you, Stephen, or anybody else out there what the colors mean for all of us. There's no universal meaning, because for me, red might be passion. For Stacy, red might be energy. For Bruno, the energy might be an energy that says, okay, that is life force. And maybe, Stephen, for you, red might be completely the opposite. It might be calm energy. So it might not be like most people would associate red with danger. And that is something that I always want to say to people. Learn to listen to your intuition. When you see an energy or sense an energy or hear an energy, ask yourself, what does this mean? Tell me more, show me more. And from that, then your energy can interpret that for you, and the knowledge of it will slowly build. And then definitely sit with a notepad and a pen or a pencil and write down these impressions, because later on, when you look back at this, maybe 10 years, 20 years from now, mine has been over 35 years, you will actually realize that your spirit has learned what these things are and what they mean to you and other people.
You know what? That sounds very much to me like mental mediumship.
Oh, wow.
There's very, I am a mental medium. I know some people doubt my mental acuity sometimes, but that is mental mediumship. A lot of people have got their own views on mental mediumship, what it is. It's not the 5 clairs, all right?
Okay.
I know a lot of people like to go on about the 5 clairs, but what it is sensing. Yeah. Spirit put images into your mind. Okay, and one of the greatest things I was taught is you can't have imagination without an image.
Yeah.
We all imagine, don't we? So spirit put the images that they need to show us in our mind, but it's the shade and the vibration of the colours within that.
Yeah.
All right. That give you the meaning of it and the emotion of it.
Yes.
When I teach in circle, I try to get my students to become aware of emotion and to interpret that emotion, to separate their own emotion from what's coming in. Yes. I'll try not to give a lecture because I want you to talk. But,
no, not at all. But it's interesting. And what you're saying is making sense.
Yeah, what I understand it as mental mediumship. Getting back to your point about colours, yeah, blue to me is healing, pink is love, orange is strength, green is peace, but they're just blanket terms.
Yes.
But it's the shade and that vibration that you see, because we're all individuals, we all think and feel, and we all have physiology. Yes. So there's going to be a different shade and vibration.
Yes.
Compared from me, then
yes.
There might be the same colour, but it'll be a different shade and vibration. Being able to sense that and interpret that is mental mediumship. I've given people whole messages on a colour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I keep trying to tell students the importance of colour.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Chris, that, you know...
I fully agree. I fully agree. One of my favorite quotes that I have learned over the years is what Nikola Tesla used to say, that everything in the universe is color, vibration, and energy, because to me, that basically summarizes it. Because in those 3 things, all knowledge is basically locked in.
Yeah, you got everything. I always try to, the way I simply sort of like my own thoughts on it, and this is what I try to tell people: thought equals vibration, vibration equals color.
Yeah.
So when you're seeing a color, you're getting a vibrational frequency, but you're getting a thought, whatever, that's generating that. Okay, so if you can look into all 3, all right, and sense and be aware of that, you can give a message, but you can also give healing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Do you sense spirit, Chris?
Yes, I do, Stephen. Yes, I do. With people, when a spirit guide is with a person and they're wanting you to see them, you actually can see them standing next to the people. I, for example, have had interactions where what people term angels would appear to me. And I was quite shocked the first time that happened as a child, because you get these beings that are taller than us as humans. So we basically, human will typically be 1.85 meters, 1.90 meters if you're lucky. I'm 2 meters myself as an adult, But growing up, when you see something standing as a figure that goes through the roof and basically stands taller than a house, you think to yourself, what is this that I'm seeing? And then you have a sense within you that you don't need to worry, it's not going to harm you. But I always say to people, with angels, and people often ask me, do you fear them? And I'm like, no, I do not fear them, but I have a very healthy respect. It's the same feeling that one has when you stand on the shore of the ocean. There's this immense power in the sea, but it's like you needing to realize that you have a part to play in that greater picture.
You know what, I agree with that, Chris. I once gave a message to somebody at Hampton on the Hill, spiritually, back in the 90s, and there was Archangel Michael there and Archangel Gabriel, and they were like skyscrapers.
Yeah.
I could sense them within my mind's eye, you know what I mean? They give this guy a message, and I was panned, and they were throwing rocks at me afterwards because I didn't give evidence of survival.
Yeah.
And the bloke come out, whilst they're calling me everything, shook my hand and said, thank you for that. I'm trying to escape from Satanism.
Wow.
So there you go. That's why you had two archangels there. But you're right, they do come in like very tall. I was taught, Chris, that when you see a spirit guide or an angel or anything like that of a greater height than yourself, or what's normal or considered as average, it shows symbolically it's their wisdom in spirit. It's the level that they've reached. Yeah. You know, but like we was talking about earlier, I could give somebody a message from a loved one. I don't have to see them, but I can feel their energy, and I can tell you how tall they were, the colour of their hair, whether they had a wooden leg or everything. Do you get that kind of thing?
I do that as well, Stephen. So with people, and this is often with radio work, when you do have a caller call in, you basically only have time to link with them by them telling you their name. Now, you don't need to hear their surname. So if you, for example, call in, all I need to know is, hi, my name is Stephen. What can you tell me in general? Or what can you tell me about my career? And from that, energetically, you then get the impression, and it's like you seeing the soul and where it's at that point in time, or where that energy is going to go as a time snapshot. And I always say to people, the snapshot itself is like a capture in time. It's like a frame in time. And it's like me holding an empty frame in front of me and looking through it, and where I decide to pause, that's my image at that point in time. But if I then move that frame to the left or to the right, because time is not like we have it as linear, you actually see that there is a flow to it. But there are things in that time flow that will occur because on a higher level, we are aware of this, even although not conscious. Some people, when they do go into deep meditative practices or deep spiritual practices, like even prayer, they can find that they get glimpses of things that they have decided upon. And I feel that with us, you will choose what it is that you want to experience as a soul in order to evolve. And when you have something happen to you, it's always very important to always have gratitude, because no matter whether you're experiencing something that is feeling in our human mind as negative, or feeling something that is positive in your view set, when you later on reflect, even that negative event might have had a very positive imprint on you in growing spiritually to a newer level, and you've gained that experience. And when you then go to the life between lives after this physical reality, and you look back and you review your life lessons, you and your guides, you and your spirit team will decide, yes, you have mastered this. Yes, you have learned this, this, and this. And that combined knowledge goes into the greater whole, where everything that is of source benefits from that, because we are all linked to that infinite.
Yeah, 100%. And I wish we could make people more aware of that, you know.
That's why
we're all linked, because Spirit are telling us all the time everything is connected.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you think about it or research it a little bit, you realize that we're all connected through the infinite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
That's
God, or whatever
fine.
we want to call it. Allah, you know. whatever we want to call it. But you raised a good point earlier about voice vibration. What you got to realise is, Chris, I'm one of the sort of like medium grunts that goes around the churches and tries to educate people a little bit. And, you know, you were saying about, you know, when you're doing your radio work, you get people to give their name and all that. That's voice vibration, isn't it?
And you read the energy from the voice.
Yeah, the energy from the voice. So, like with Chris, he needs the energy from the voice to get the vision in his mind so that he can work from that. With me, when I'm bringing your mum through, I need your voice vibration, your energy to connect you to the energy of the communicator. That's why we have voice vibration. So, folks, please don't sit there going.
And that's what drives me crazy. When a person walks in for a reading, a session, now it might be with anything from tarot to aura or any reading as such, they sit there and they cross, their body language says, I'm closing off, let me test you, let me see how good you are. When people come with that attitude, I'm like, first of all, you're wasting time and energy that can be dedicated to giving you a very good, very pure message that is from spirit that will benefit you. Why is it that you come with this mindset of let's see how good you are? And there is no such thing as people being greater or lesser than others in the world of spirit. We are all equal. My gift is a gift that everybody has, but not everybody uses it because either we have not been taught or that knowledge has been sort of hidden away because people fear us looking at them and seeing their true essence, which is the soul. And when you look at a person, depending on which level of the energy field you tune into, the physical body disappears. And at the end of the day, all you are is a grid of energy and a sphere of life force, vibration. It looks like a little ball about this big.
Yeah, what was I going to say? There are reasons why we do things, aren't there, Chris? You know, I often think it's not people seeking like evidence of survival. Okay, I think because I go around these places and I'm demonstrating to the same people week in, week out. They're testing you as a medium whether you can actually get a link or not, even though they've seen you work 100 times. You know what I mean? But please, there's reasons why we do things, folks. We need your voice vibration. We don't want your life story, just a no, don't understand, or just an acknowledgement verbally that we're coming to you. Right, Chris, that's enough of me, right? Please tell us about soul reading, because I'm into,
So soul reading is the deeper level of the energy reading when you start looking at the person and you start looking at where they're sitting as a soul at this point in time. You can then access aspects of experiences that they've had in past lives, experiences that they're having now on multiple levels, as well as activities that they will be partaking in the future, because time is not linear when you're looking at the soul. It is like an infinity symbol, or like the Ouroboros symbol where the snake bites its own tail. There's no beginning and no end. So you can visualize it as either a circle or as an infinity symbol, because that is how the time is. So with this, when I get a client and they sit in front of me, I will connect myself to source. I'll connect myself to earth so that I ground. Because if you're not grounded properly, you will not get a good, clean connection. It's similar to electricity's rules and electronics. You have a positive energy flow that comes in, but you need the negative, which is the earth, in order to ground that energy so that you become the conduit. And you are just the conduit, the instrument. You are not the voice. You are just the speaker, if you want to call it that. So when you then sit with the person, you tune into them and you start saying to yourself, okay, show me this person's soul. Show me what their purpose is. Show me what gifts they've brought through. What are the lessons that they've chosen? And from that, you can then analyze that and give them feedback.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a load of questions now, Chris, and I'm just seeing if I can remember some of them, because as you were talking, I was thinking, oh, what about that? And what about that? But I found it interesting about you saying, you know, time is not linear. It goes like in the infinity symbol. That's very true, because karma is circular, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the way I understand karma to be.
It comes back to bite you.
Yeah. So I suppose when you're doing your soul reading, you're looking at the journey of the soul.
Yeah.
And what are you just looking in this material timeline now for them in their earth
You're looking
existence?
on all levels. So you're basically saying to the soul, show me what I'm allowed to see for you. Because again, there, you will not have the ability to see something if it's not meant to be visible to you, because then it will be veiled.
Yeah, oh, it's gone, sorry. But the soul is ancient, isn't it? I think the soul, see, we as human beings, we need times on a ring. Oh, when was the soul created? Nobody knows, because I think it's sort of like before our universe was created. That's just my own thoughts on it.
Exactly.
And look at how many billions and zillions of years ago that was, right?
Yeah.
But you're looking at a karmic timeline, really, aren't you? I mean, I don't know whether you agree or not. Yeah.
You do see glimpses of the karmic issues that a person has struggled with, the ones that they've mastered. You see the ones that they're still being challenged with. So if one, for example, looks at, just for example, using numbers, so numerology even, that's just a vibrational system as well. Tarot, it's a vibrational system. All these tools can give you insight into the same thing, but it's how you read it. So if one has a volunteer, one can maybe do a demonstration of this for the people. And it would be good if it's somebody that I do not know. Now, I do know Stacy very well. So Stephen, I don't know if you or Bruno feel maybe brave enough for me just to give a quick demonstration without going into too much detail.
All right, Bruno's up for it.
Good. So
right,
Bruno,
go for it, Bruno. Unmute, mate.
Let me tune in and let me just ground and connect, as I said I do.
You can do me after Bruno.
And then what I'll do, Bruno, is I'll just start off with your energy. And the first thing that I'm getting is a strong sense of blue. So for me, you are gifted as a communicator. This is something as a soul that you've brought through as a tool that you want to use in getting out to people. But you are running a little bit from your teacher role. Does that make sense? Do people always come to you and ask you for advice and guidance? I'm not hearing your audio.
Yes.
Yes. So for me as a soul, that's one of your main purposes. You've come through to be of service to others. You've been sent here to be a sort of philosopher, a person that can communicate to others and guide them to find their own inner power. So for you, one of the biggest struggles that you've had that comes from karmic and past life interaction has been violence and aggression. In this lifetime, you despise that with an absolute fervor. It's like if you see people fighting or arguing over things that are stupid and silly, you do not get involved. You try and step back. You try and make sense of it in your mind, and you try and be the peacemaker, the diplomat. That's your energy that you've got. Also, very gifted with the gift of healing from spirit. So your ability to heal and to be able to channel healing to others is also very strong, but it's like you've just basically touched on the surface of that yet, because it's like in the next 5 to 6 years, that's something that will be quite relevant for you. But at the moment, your biggest thing is finding stability, finding security, and just finding out how to be in balance with yourself, with your physical work demands, and your spiritual interests, and bringing the two slowly together to help others. Making sense?
Basically, if I was next to you, I would kiss your forehead because you are brilliant, but continue.
And then also very interesting, a very strong influence for you from many, many, many incarnations, music. Music inspires you. Music gives you a sense of connecting to source. So when you've had quite a hectic day, you retreat into your space. You want to close your doors, your windows, and you just want to sit with your music. And then like within 10 minutes, it uplifts you. So you're very linked with Archangel Raphael. That's a blue angel energy as well. that comes in with the red that pops in with it. So very much looking for inspiration, looking to express yourself, either in artistic expression, listening to music. That's also something that gives you inner joy. And even dabbling at times, I would say, with music, like it comes to you, like humming little songs that pops into your mind. And then you'll walk around the whole day going, whatever the tune is, but it uplifts you. And if you could go into a bit of composition to learn to put that into form, you can use that as a tool for others as well.
I'm looking for a husband that knows how to play piano because I can't. So that way it will be
You must try
easier.
the harpsichord.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the harpsichord has a very interesting sound. Instead of hitting the string, it pulls the string. So it's got that beautiful, beautiful sound. But very interesting because to me, you have mastered a lot of that fear, that fighting, that anger that people always have had. And this is in many of your lifetimes. You've been persecuted. You have been a severe leader to the point that you would send out armies and fight with them and really take out opposition. So in this lifetime, it's like, no, I don't want to do that again. I'm choosing in this lifetime peace, and I'm trying to find a way to reach more people, to awaken them. And I'll leave that with you.
Chris,
Let me
would you like
just-
to give me a quick?
Can I just say
Bruno.
something? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Spirit basically told me go. I didn't know why I had to come here.
Awesome.
And basically, Chris, what you said was what I actually was looking for to hear in like
Awesome.
a few months now. So really, thank you.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. That's lovely.
Thank you, Bruno.
Spirit do guide us in that way, Bruno. Like a lot of people have said to me, or I've had it yourself, go to church. I'll go, no, I don't. And then you go and you finally get a message that is
No, the thing is,
Just like you.
if I can, I work with Spirit. So I'm Portuguese. I live in Portugal, and I work as a full-time medium. And basically, I help people with their grief. The blue makes a lot of sense because blue. I have a podcast. It's very blue. Now I understand why the connection with the blue. And it's the only Portuguese podcast that brings the sessions, the channeling to the healing. And of course, I'm a human as well, and I have doubts and I have weaknesses. And your message went to the point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great, Bruno. I love that. I'm glad you come on, mate. All right.
And if my Portuguese was good enough, I would actually tune into the podcast, but I'm very basic. I can say bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, and muito
That's enough.
obrigado.
That's enough.
That's
You will go there in English. No worries. You go there.
Thank you.
Chris, would you like to give me a little soul
Yes,
reading?
I can, Stephen. I can, with greatest of pleasure. So let me just disconnect from Bruno. I've already closed that energy off because I can feel it's still coming back. Let me just breathe in, get rid of that energy, and then tune into your energy and go into yours as well. Now, Stephen, before I open my eyes, as I'm connecting to your energy, there is a lot of yellow gold, which to me is in this lifetime, your conscious effort to connect with source on a much higher level beyond the religious waffle and babbling that people always throw. Because you, from a very young age, have had a lot of conflict, inner turmoil, with the way in which you were forced to have to believe versus the way that you know in your heart of hearts how things are spiritually. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Quite interesting as well, if I look at your soul's lessons that you've mastered also through many, many lives. You are a person of keeping law, order, and structure. So there was a lot of past lives. Judgment is quite a strong thing for you. So in this lifetime, you do not like it when people pass judgment on you or accuse you of things that you know you are innocent for, because you still, on a soul level, on an instinctive level, feel that it's an attack on your character, your security, your stability, because the orange and the red flares up when I speak about that. And energetically, I feel it in the solar plexus. With you as well, you have had very strong connections with your soul family that have imprinted time and time and time again, and you always in a grouping of 4. So it's like you, another male energy, and 2 females that always come in different roles in many lifetimes. And it's like trauma and loss is one of the biggest things that you still fear, but you've become better at accepting it because you now realize that all your experiences through all your incarnations have proven to you beyond any question of a doubt that there is no physical death, but that link to the person is what you feel is missing. It's the ability to sit down with a person and have a cup of coffee with him and say to him, let us talk, let us go walking. And it's like you find solace in nature, you find solace very strongly in the company of others. So when you feel that you need to just unwind, you switch off your spiritual gifts and you withdraw into the company of small groups, not big groups, not big crowds, and then you just unwind. And once you find yourself again after that, you then can go back to your space.
Yeah, I agree.
Very important, the knowledge of self-worth. You have mastered that in this life, saying to yourself, I am worthy, I am more than enough to do what I have been destined to do. And you are a catalyst, you are an activator.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. A lot of that was sort of very accurate, most of it, all of it, yeah. Thank you. Which leads me on to, thank you, Chris. But this leads me on to my next question, Chris. You're a soul reader, and as you know, as we all know, that the soul is eternal and has many lessons to go through to become that one within old-fashioned way of putting it, the divine, to be as at one with God. We used to call it the Great Divine Plan years ago. My guides have been coming through in trance and telling people they should look after their eternal selves.
Yeah.
We all base life on this sort of like, I don't know, 80 years or 70 years or however many years that we're going to live here, don't we? So what my guides have been telling people is, and I think this will resonate with your soul reading, that what we do today or what we have done or what we're about to do resonates out into eternity. What do you think of that?
I fully agree with that, because you are on an eternal progression back to source. And as we in our creation, because we come from source, we are like the raindrops that come from the ocean. This ocean, when it evaporates, becomes vapor. The vapor becomes cloud. The cloud then goes into the water cycle, but eventually the water finds its way back to the ocean. And that's how I always say to people, think of the soul like that. Once we go back up to source, into the ocean, that is when we find that we have full understanding, full knowledge, and full awareness of everything on all levels. There is no separation, there is just unity. But when we fall into different places as water droplets that are in the water cycle to the cloud, that cloud can be blown anywhere. It can be a single little cloud that just dissipates and disappears. It can be a cloud that gathers strength and becomes a rainstorm. It can be a typhoon. It can be a hurricane. It can be any weather phenomena. But that water then falls somewhere. And this is like when we choose our incarnations, what it is that we're wanting to learn, what is it that we're wanting to experience in order for the greater to actually grow, which is the ocean, source, universe. So we come from source. We are all part of it. Every rock, every crystal, every animal, every plant, every human being, and any creature, visible and invisible, on this level and others, have been created from that same energy. But we are not physically aware of that as humans, because our spectrum is very limited. It's like a radio that can only tune between 96 and 97 FM. You only have the ability to tune in there. But sometimes some of the higher frequencies might bleed through, or some of the lower frequencies might bleed through. And then you get static, or you get and you sometimes can hear a word or two. And it's like training the mind to use that.
Yeah.
And then your spectrum goes up. And this is how source then evolves, because we were created so that source can have an experience and grow in deeper understanding of its own creation.
You know, I agree with that 100%. And do you know what you reminded me of, Chris? You reminded me of Spirit Guide Lee.
Oh,
Because he came through in circle many moons ago when I had black hair and teeth. That's how long ago it was. And he basically says, your awareness, you know, you only see things in a limited way, that like your perception of colour is very, very limited. Your perception of mind is very, very limited. If you knew, he said it, if you knew the full colour range universally, it'd just blow your mind, it'd blow you sky high. And all the rest of it.
yeah.
And I do agree about like higher frequencies seeping through and lower frequencies seeping through, and about becoming aware of it, but it's about developing it as well.
Yeah.
But what this is going to lead me to, I was doing a demonstration at Windsor, and one of the women there was saying something. I forget what she was saying now, but I replied that, you know, there is one source, because no, that's right. I was giving a lady a message, and she's very pagan and very witchy and all the rest of it. Great stuff, you know. But I just said to her, you know, that there's one truth, but many teachers.
Yeah.
Whether it's coming from spirit guides or a tree or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, or Herne the Hunter, you know, or whatever. But and this is what we've got to realise, and I think we've got to tune. Do you agree with this, Chris? I'm often saying to people, your spiritual development is now, your eternal life is now, not when you pop your clogs. What do you think of that?
I fully agree. The reason why we come through into the physical, Stephen, is to actually be of service here in the now for others. And while we're doing that, we evolve at the greatest rate. It's like an accelerated growth zone, this planet Earth and this physical dimension. When people talk about waking up suddenly overnight and we will open our eyes and be in fifth dimension, I sometimes on my inner level realize that people have a very different concept, because I feel that we can at any time make that jump. Like when you look at the energy field of a person, you can sit in front of the person, but look at their energy field from the back. You can pull out the energy field, you can rotate it, and look at it while sitting right in front of them without moving a physical bone. Now that to me is fifth, sixth dimensional reality. And I also do not feel like with the energy centers even. In the past, we had people depict 7 chakras, and they depicted the 7 energy bodies that go with that. And I would say, yes, that is the standard model for your average person. But as your awareness grows, as your spirituality grows, you develop more and more energy centers, and you can access more and more higher vibrations and other realities, and realize that you limit yourself. And the same with the consciousness. There isn't just 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different levels of awareness. They also infinite, because we are infinite, but we do not realize it while being in the physical. We also see things as humans very much black and white, the duality, the balance, the yin yang. But in truth, that is the consciousness that splits source energy into 2. Source energy is infinite. There is no positive or negative. It's unconditional. It doesn't judge. It has love. It has compassion. And you cannot attach a human emotion to pure energy.
Once again, you've reminded me of Spirit Guide Lee. That's amazing. All right. But like I say, there's one truth, isn't there? And it comes through many different teachers, such as yourself, Spirit Guide Lee, even me sometimes. But what I want to say is Spirit Guide Lee years ago was sort of like talking about developing to a state where you can be aware of higher levels of spirit. And you know, once you develop that and you become aware of higher levels of spirit, you will develop more, I call them power points, but more chakras. Okay. Spiritual development to me is not just about learning how to pick up and give off a message.
Yeah.
It's about developing your whole being,
Yes.
spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and keep yourself well enough to live long enough to do it. But I think we do get too bogged down in our mortal, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And
Physical.
sometimes, especially as we get older, the physical body says physical pains and physical aches that come in, even those are little teachers in their own right.
Yeah.
And we have to be grateful, because even although we might be walking with a severe back pain as we get older, especially if you're short like me at 2 meters tall, then you realize that, hey, this is just physical mechanisms. Your body has taken a lot of strain, but it's still at least able to walk, being able to be aware, being able to open your eyes. There's people that will give all they have for that ability, and we don't always see how blessed we are in the small things. And when we don't appreciate the small things, the universe cannot gift us with miracles.
I agree. Miracles happen every day. We're just not aware of it. I mean, one point you made earlier about gratitude, being grateful for your experiences. And I think, I see a lot on Facebook, this happened and that happened, and there's a lot of screaming and shouting and keyboard warrior stuff going on and all the rest of it. But spirit teachers, or the universe teachers, whatever step on the back foot and think, what am I learning from this? How am I evolving from this?
Yeah.
And be grateful for that evolution.
Yeah.
Because you are becoming better as a human being, but you're also vibrating on a higher vibrational frequency, aren't you?
Yeah. And the biggest trick that I've seen with regards to our soul frequency, where we often let ourselves drop down, is when we get caught up in the emotions to the point that the emotions becomes the reality, and we lock ourselves into the emotion and then lash out at anger because of that being a response that we've learned over this lifetime or through other lifetimes, and we haven't yet mastered it. But when you can see that emotion trigger as something that's reflecting something in you that you need to work on, you can step back and say, how very interesting, and then move on and say to yourself, okay, I recognize this pattern. I've learned to identify it, and next time it comes up, it's not going to trigger me. So next time it happens, you just say to yourself, I am observing the mirror, and the mirror is revealing me.
Yeah, I remember the lovely Jane Lorraine Goodman. I must get her on. I keep threatening that she will come on. I keep meaning to message her. But she's a great medium who helps a lot of people. And I remember when I was in a particular low point in my life, and I was going through the same karmic circular thing with people, places, habits, a lot. And she actually helped sort of made me realise that karma is a circular thing. And that if I keep repeating the same behaviours, I'll just keep going round and round.
Yeah.
And that actually helped by me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because from that, she inspired me to change my own ways. Yeah. And I think a lot of people have got to realise this, haven't they? You know, it's no good sort of sitting there bleating about this and that happening. It's how we treat life. It's not how life treats us, is it, Chris?
Yeah.
It's very much how we treat life.
Yeah.
What are we doing? How could we make things better?
Yeah.
How could
I think our biggest lesson,
stop these things happening? You know.
Yeah. I think our biggest lesson is to, like I say, wake every moment of the day with a sense of gratitude. When something happens, acknowledge it. Be aware of it in the moment. Don't focus too much on projecting ahead of time too far away in the distance. Also, don't dwell on the past the whole time, but live for the now. If at night, when you go to bed and you retire and you close your eyes and you can say to yourself, I did something positive today, or I learned something, you know that you have evolved. But when you feel, what did I do with my day today? I can't think of anything that I benefited anybody else with, or that I myself learned or observed or grew from. then you need to say to yourself, I need to change something because I need to live every day to its fullest.
You know what? And that's a message, Chris. But thanks for saying all that, because that's a message that needs to really go out there. I think from my job at the moment, I'm learning patience, believe it or not,
Yeah.
even though I try to teach it to other people. Because I deal with elderly people and vulnerable people, I have to
Yeah.
learn patience.
Yeah.
You know, so, but there's nothing better than sort of like getting into bed at night and thinking, I've done something good today. Or it was a real rubbish day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then think, what did I learn from today?
Yeah.
You know, what has that horrible event or that thing going wrong, or whatever, what has that taught me about me? What am I learning from it? And you know what? That helps us to, and once we realise it, if we open ourselves to that,
Yeah.
then that realisation can then come in, can't it, Chris? And then,
Yeah.
you know, and we think, oh, that's better. I feel better now because I've learned from that. And I'm more at peace now with that.
Yeah.
We all have little achievements in a day, don't we, Chris?
No, we do. And it's marking them off and celebrating both the successes and the failures in life equally. Like, be grateful for Monday. Don't just celebrate Friday.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I mean, I celebrated Friday, this Friday.
Yeah. Start saying, thank God it's Monday.
Yeah, but, you know, I just sort of, even on, there's one guy I work with, he goes, Monday's fun day. You know, and I agree with that. I said, can't we make every day fun day? No matter what happens, can't we make every day fun day? Because that makes you mindful. No matter what's going on, good or bad, you're going to have a positive attitude going forward, aren't you? You know what I mean?
Each day is created equally. It's what we make of it.
But I think from you doing soul readings, and I think it's self, you know, with what you have to offer, you know, not only people you give readings, but the knowledge that comes from all that you can put out there is about our eternal selves, you know, and how our, you know, how we interact with our eternal self now.
Yeah.
Because Spirit are really wanting people to think about their lives and what they're carrying forward into eternity with them.
Yeah.
And I think with your abilities there, that could really, really help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're dead right with me, because I don't like being judged, because I've got a bald head and quite a stern face. A lot of people think, oh, he's a medium, is he? But, you know, because I look like a reject from EastEnders, you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Never judge a book by its cover. We all, you know, and I think we've got to be more accepting of each other. I'm going on again. Going forward, how do you see your progression, Chris?
My progression is going to be focusing more on the spiritual, more focusing on getting myself out of the environment where I'm at this point in time, and then definitely focusing on getting people to realize themselves who they are and remembering who they are, because we are not separate. We are not alone in the multiverse.
Yeah, I love that multiverse. I like that. I mean, you know, Marvel are even making films about the multiverse, isn't it? Have you ever seen Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange, I love his film. I saw #1 and #2.
Yeah,
and
you know,
the way
like,
that they open portals is very interesting, because that is a reality. With thought, you can do that.
yeah, oh, I agree. Thought is the most powerful thing. I just think we really limit ourselves with just plain old mediumship, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We are so gifted, we are so powerful, we are so infinite. And that's one of the reasons I wanted you on, Chris, to make people aware of that.
Thank you.
You know, or just through spiritual development, we can raise our level of our vibrational frequency, which takes us in that. But a bit of that film I like, you know, when he's sort of like there, I'm a super duper doctor, I've come to find this magic cure for my hand so I can go back operating. And, and the nun looks at him, you know, and thinks, well, you're a big head like that. But she pushes him out of his body. And she takes him on a journey through all these different universities and realities. And I thought, and I sat there watching the film, you know, with me beer and all the rest of it. I thought, which more people realise that?
Yeah, that
And I'm
film
so
and
glad
The
Marvel were
Matrix,
doing it, you know?
yeah, that film and The Matrix goes above so many people that are asleep's awareness. But yet, when you sit there, even if you're not consciously aware about what the deeper teachings are that's actually being shared to humanity, I call that a waking up film. It's like some music in the many decades have come out as well, awakening people to higher awareness, slowly getting us all to wake up to the realization that there is more. And to me, that scene where she punches his soul out of his body was amazing.
Yeah. And she taught him through that. And I think, and he sort of like went flying through the or different universities and all this bit. Spirit teaches all this.
Yeah.
You know, because I remember getting back to Lee again years ago, he was talking about, though, what we know as God or what we perceive God to be controlling this universes, but there are other beings or intelligences that we would call God. Like overseeing. I was overseeing, not controlling is the wrong way, overseeing other universes and all the rest of it. And multiverse puts it into, into perspective. It's like Berenice, my teacher, she was talking about parallel universes and this reincarnation and all the rest of it. And she said, and the one thing that confused me, and it's confused me since it came out of her mouth, is this is if we're actually living our present life now. You know what I mean? And we could talk about that for hours and pull our hair out.
That's a whole topic on its own.
Yeah, and I was being taught that in 1979. So yeah, but and I think all this needs to come to the fore. I think, this teaching, whether it's coming through somebody like me or like you that's more equipped for it, because I just go around the churches and centres, but you're more equipped and you can really sort of like specialize, can't you? And I'm just thinking out loud, Chris. All right.
And also, I think on a soul level, Stephen, the biggest lesson that I've learned in the last almost 50 years that I've been on this planet. So I've got a year and a few months left for 50, which is when you start your second life, because at 50, you start a new life that starts from zero again, is that we all as people have the potential to be more than what we allow ourselves to be, that we often fear our greatest potential, and that is that we are one with everything, and that everything is one with us, and that we need to just take on ownership and not pass the buck. When we do bad things, it's not some unseen force that's doing that, it's us through choice. So make the right choices.
Yeah, I agree. Choices is the all-powerful thing.
And we cannot interfere with freedom of choice.
That's right. I mean, people look at me and sometimes they screw their face up and I go, we've all got free will. And a lot of people say, have we really? I'm saying, yeah, we have. You know what I mean?
We have predestined thought, but we do have free will as to how we react to situations.
We've been dumped on this giant comprehensive school, haven't we? 4 lessons to learn, for our soul progression, all the rest of it. But again, it's free will says, right, you've been put in this situation. What are you going to do with it? Use me.
Yeah. Obviously, it is a blessing.
Become better, People are always looking at their restrictions, aren't they?
Exactly.
And they're not sort of like thinking, okay, they're not, whether it's, they're sitting in deep meditation, or they decide just to get a glass of wine and let their mind wander, or they just think about stuff, it's there, and free will dictates how can I become better, how can I rise above this, what can I do to change the situation?
And also through your actions, how can I inspire others to realize that they themselves have more potential than what they're living out at this point in time?
One thing you mentioned right at the beginning is we come into this life with gifts or abilities. Yeah, I know there's people saying we shouldn't call them gifts anymore, we should call them abilities or whatever.
Yeah.
But we all come to earth with something, don't we?
Yeah.
Whether it's mediumship, soul reading, or we're a good carpenter, you know, or there's Bruno there likes his art, you know, or music, and is a beautiful healer. Got a lovely nun there with you, Bruno. Sparkles is just lovely, as we know. And talented artist and psychic, and you know, good talker as well. But anyway, should we be more prepared to share our gifts? Because you know, a lot of people hide away. You know, oh, I don't want to look stupid.
No, we do, because of society. But again, I think that we're getting to a tipping point at this point in time, Stephen, where the time of hiding has come to an end, and where people are starting to be activated and triggered to realize, and COVID was a very big trigger for this, to say, when you were locked away for almost 3.5 years, your focus wasn't there on the outside world. It was about your inner world and those that you care about around you. So the lesson of COVID was to say, what really matters to you? What is it that you will do in order to basically push through a challenging state like this? And what is the lesson that you can get from that? My personal lesson that I learned from COVID was that brands do not matter. What really matters are our loved ones, the people we choose to share our space with, and then using what we are called for within ourselves to really live that out into the world. And if the world takes it, great. If the world cannot accept it, great. But I'm not going to judge it. I'm just doing my purpose, which is sharing it with all. And those that will want to take it up and use it, great. Those who don't, they'll come back. And maybe in another incarnation or 10 from now, they'll realize,
I agree with you on that point, Chris, because my wife tells me I'm like Marmite. You know Marmite, don't you? And,
yeah, I do know Marmite. I'm not very fond of Marmite, but I like Marmite.
Yeah, you either love it or hate it. And she's saying that's how people see you. They either like what you do or they don't. They think you're an idiot, right?
Yeah.
And whatever we got to bring with you into this world, you got to realise that some people it's going to resonate with and it's going to help people. Other people are going to think, oh, well, you know, and all the rest of it, he or she's talking a lot of rubbish. Or that's.
And at the end of the day, it's about choosing to be a lighthouse.
I agree. But it's also about learning to communicate to levels of understanding, isn't it?
Yeah. And spirituality is not complex, it's simple.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many people these days trying to make it so complicated to make themselves look good. Really?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I just like to go, oi, Chris, tell us about this soul reading. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As also like me and you were in the pub with a beer and we're just talking about it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So everybody can understand it.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. That's good, isn't it, Chris? But communication to levels, make it as simple as possible. We you know, so that all can understand. I remember once I'd done a demonstration in Luton years ago, and this gentleman come up to me afterwards, and he said that was a very high vibrational address, but you gave it very simply. I said that's the way you should, because I want everybody to understand it, and if I can understand it, everybody can understand it, and that's the way it be. Do you find that yourself? I mean, I'm sure you can get very up there with it, but you know, for Joe Bloggs who comes up in the street who's had this activation, realization, and wants to know more about it, you've got to talk at that level, haven't you?
Yeah, but with people also, I've found that I always joke, even in IT training, which I've been doing for 35 years professionally, I say to people, if you can explain something to a little toddler, age 4 or 5, or to your grandmother at age 85, and they both can understand what the message is that you're sharing to them, you know that you're in at the right level. Once you start talking and you lose either one of those two, it means that you are trying to sound clever. Your ego has popped in. And the
Yeah.
ego is sometimes the biggest tripping block for us in our true growth potential.
You know
Always
what?
remain humble.
I agree. Do you know what? That's a great way to round it off, Chris. Humility is a great teacher. See, to me, humility doesn't mean being submissive. It makes you strong. It makes you powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sort of like, you know, like in the poem, you know, no greater than the stars, but no lower than the dirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if all of us that practice in whichever way we practice our spiritual awareness, I think the world would be a little bit of a better place, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know. But please, folks, know that we all have something to offer in this life, no matter what we think the state of our life is. But we also have plenty to learn so that we can make what we can get much better.
And like the X-Men, we can all learn from one another.
That's right. That's why I have different people on, so that I can learn from them. It's not just sort of me trying to look clever and realizing that people get fed up with my face after a while. But so I like to bring people on with different aspects of what we do. It's all part of the one whole, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like spirit guides teach. You go through lessons and lessons and lessons till you reach a greater whole. Then you look again and there's another greater whole that you've got to go through. And in your way, you could say that all of that's a multiverse, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Because you're continually going on. You know.
Exactly.
But Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
And thank you for having me, Stephen. And thank you,
No, more
everybody
welcome,
that
mate.
listened and watched.
Yeah. Well, there's 8 of us now. I think that's an all-time viewing record. Right.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Oh, wow. That is beautiful.
is that a self-portrait? She's going to swear at me now.
No, I just thought I would do something colourful while you were talking.
No, that's
That is
brilliant.
beautiful.
I love that. And getting back to Chris doesn't see a cat. He sees the colours of the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very much in line with what Chris has been talking about. So that's brilliant. Chris, we'll have to invite you on again, as well as
Thank you,
Sparkle. We
Stephen.
might even
Thank
have
you,
Bruno
Bruno.
on to talk about his healing journey. Keep in touch, Bruno. All right. Next week, so I started out as a healer, Bruno. So, and I still do healing. Well, I still channel it. So it'd be good to hear about your journey and what you've got to share. So please keep in touch, mate. There won't be a coffee time next week because sadly I've got to work. All right. But I'm looking at the following week, and if Bruno don't want to come on, we'll have the lovely Sarah Warman. She's a busy girl, fellow medium as well, lovely little lady. But now, unfortunately for you lot, it's poetry time, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I'm going to read one of my poems. Hazel, who is my chief nagger on getting my poetry out there and convincing me to keep doing coffee time. And I'll click the wrong thing again. She says that I should read a poem out every week. So to keep her quiet, that's what I do. All right. And I'm going to read the poem that I wrote this morning, but I was inspired last night. And this again is about learning. All right. Because not a lot of people know this, but I spent 30 years working in the security industry. And some of those years I was a nightclub and pub doorman. Okay. And but finally I'm sitting there. It was a family birthday party. It was my daughter-in-law's 40th birthday, you know, and there was a disco and was having a little drink and what have you. And people were dancing. But I finally realized that I had my back to everybody. And that is something you don't do in security, or especially when you're a doorman at an event like that. So I wrote a poem about it, which I'm desperately trying to find. Right. Okay. It's up here somewhere. Oh, it's up there. Right, I've got it. So this is what I learned last night, and this goes along with Chris's soul progression and all the rest of it. and about realizing and becoming aware and vibrating on higher frequencies. Hopefully you'll agree with that, Chris. But anyway, it's titled Peace is Found. Peace comes slowly to those who fight. Now in mature years, I realise peace comes to those who step away from the fight. Hindsight teaches me there was nothing to prove, only to discover oneself in truth. There is no fight, the path is there to walk. How deluded was I in my material world? Alpha male is not the point. I suppose we chimps need a dominant to follow. I turn my back to the crowd. Now peace is found.
Wow.
And I hope that goes along with what we'll be talking about, Chris.
That does.
That was
It's
my
actually
little
a very
realisation last
powerful
night.
message. Very powerful message.
Yeah, I thought when I read it back to myself, and I've done that, and the disco's going, you don't need to go into deep contemplation. Inspiration comes, doesn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
You know, there was a disco going, everybody's having a few drinks, you know, my wife with the other women were having a boogie and people were chatting and having a laugh, and that just come to me, and I wrote it down in my notes in the phone and banged it out this morning.
Yeah. That's
So
at
you
being in
don't
the
need
now.
fun.
That's at being in the now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You know, Chris, rather than regretting the past or panicking about the future, be in the now, because the universe, the soul speaks to us.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And these realizations come to us. Okay. That's our next chat, the now, Chris, if that's okay with you. All
That's
right.
perfect.
Anyway, God bless you all.
Thank
Sparkle,
you.
as always, a pleasure.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Stacey.
Bruno,
Thank you,
lovely
Bruno,
to meet you, mate.
and everyone.
And
Bye.
I hope you come on soon. Take care,
I
you lot.
will.
God bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.